It has been legitimately over 24 hours since I've last slept, and frankly I could not give less of a damn. After flying the Draken, I simply couldn't not make a video on it. Stigma about me only uploading during dev servers be damned. This thing is simply way too much fun. This is all footage from the second opening of the 1.97 dev server, which we streamed in almost its entirety. Even after the stream I couldn't let go and I just kept playing the damn thing. It's so much fun. If you didn't watch the stream, you are probably very confused, so let me explain what's going on. What you are seeing is the J35 Draken, the new top tier jet coming for the Swedish tech tree in the upcoming patch. What makes this thing so special is that it's the first properly implemented delta wing in the game. No, the Javelin doesn't count, it still has a tail with elevators, and the Horten, although it is a flying wing, it was coded in the game as if it had an invisible tail. The Draken is beyond that, and with the current flight model, that gives it some unprecedented maneuverability. The armament consists of two wing root mounted 30mm Aiden copies, which can pack quite the punch when they connect, but they do have a rather low velocity and ammo count. You can also unlock a selection of heat or high explosive rockets, as well as up to 4 air-to-air missiles, which are rather shite. Think about AIM-9B levels of performance with poor tracking, poor G limits, mediocre velocity and a horrible lock-on circle. Overall, the armament of the Draken is rather lacking, but it doesn't matter. What this thing lacks in offensive power, it more than makes up for in the physics-bending magic it can perform. This is the first plane in the game that can do a full and proper Cobra maneuver, all thanks to its incredible initial turning ability and the very high thrust-to-weight ratio when made as light as possible. Now, there is a secret to this, as the instructor usually simply does not allow you to do this normally. So let me teach you how to do a Cobra in the Draken. First, you need to go into the controls and enable a keybind that allows you to switch between the various control modes. This will allow you to fly normally with mouse aim, but quickly switch to full real controls at the click of a button, to unlock the full agility of this plane without getting stopped by the instructor. Once you have done that, it's a pretty basic procedure. Pulling off a Cobra requires you to have between 350 to 400 km/h indicated airspeed, as well as having a full afterburner active and spooled. This is important. To set it up easily then, you should slow down as much as possible, ideally slightly below 300 km/h, and then punch the afterburner. By the time you hit 350 km/h, press your control keybind 3 times to switch to full real controls, and punch your pitch up button. If done correctly, your nose will rapidly pull up and put you at a 90-degree angle of attack, meaning that you are pretty much flat on against the direction of travel of your plane. This is the point where it's very important to have the afterburner spooled, as it will give you some altitude and allow you to pitch the nose back down after switching back to mouse aim. This maneuver rapidly decelerates you and allows for some incredibly entertaining stunts. I spent hours finding various bridges and other obstacles to do Cobras in or under. And even in combat, it can actually be used to evade enemy gunfire. Keep in mind that ideally you don't want to be stalling yourself out in front of multiple enemies, of course, and that it's also extremely easy to enter into a flat spin if you are not careful whilst in full real controls, as the plane becomes incredibly unstable. But it's just such a cool thing to pull off that you don't really actually care if it works. Apart from being able to pull off Cobras, the Draken currently has some other very interesting abilities. It used to have extremely fragile wings on the first dev server, but on the second one they were almost unbreakable. You could pull sustained 12G vertical pulls, and Even rolling whilst pulling was possible up to 15G. That said, rolling and pulling at very high speeds can almost instantly break your wings off, as can pulling negative G at high speed. You also want to be careful of overspeeding in level flight, as the engine is actually powerful enough to take the plane beyond speeds that the wings can handle, especially at sea level. That said, the speed limit is rather high, and that actually makes the Draken one of the fastest top tier jets on the deck. You're able to safely reach around Mach 1.16 at sea level and Mach 1.2 at 1 km altitude. In comparison, the new English Electric Lightning was only able to do around Mach 1.05 at the sea level, and I've been catching F4 Phantoms all day. So long as you remember to pull back on the afterburner when you hear that awful rattling sound effects, you can safely maintain those speeds and catch any plane at low altitudes. Turning is another major strength of the Draken, although it does lack some initial turn-in at high speeds. Be careful, I have a feeling that MiG-21s and Phantoms might be able to turn into you at supersonic speeds, although they do tend to bleed energy much faster as well. It is however at subsonic speeds where pretty much no other top tier jet currently in the game can even compare to the Draken's ability to turn. You can pull a consistent 12G without much energy loss, so long as you don't start rolling as well. That tends to slow it down quite a bit. This, combined with the ability to deliberately stall yourself out at low speeds, make the J-35 one of the best 1 vs 1 dogfighters in the game, and it rewards practice with the full real control switch for the best of players. This plane is somehow able to combine a very high skill ceiling with a mindless skill floor fun, and I can't recommend it more, if it doesn't get a drastically changed flight model on the live server. Keep in mind, dev server stuff tends to not be quite finished. Hopefully they don't change it too much. I just can't wait to do more Cobras on the live server when the patch hits, but there's always the possibility. One major drawback to keep in mind is that on the dev server it had a 70,000 civil line repair cost in realistic mode. I am not sure if that was a placeholder and if it will be fixed before it hits live, but if it does indeed launch with that repair cost, it's going to be incredibly expensive to run. In summary, Sweden's got themselves an extremely capable top tier jet that makes even that mind-numbing grindfest really fun. It's so much fun that I pretty much immediately fell in love with it, and I'm going to try and main it from here on out. Try and perfecting my stalling out skills. Keep in mind that all this that I'm saying is all presuming that the flight model does not get drastically changed. For all we know, they could make the wings incredibly brittle again by the time it hits live, making this thing rather useless. But as it stands, it's just one of the best planes I've ever flown. The patch is likely to drop this week, within the next few days in fact, so get grinding. Keep in mind that I'm not trying to chill this thing out. I generally do recommend getting it as soon as possible, but I have heard from other players that the Swedish premium jets currently available is rather crap and not really worth the money. If you really desperately want to accelerate the grind for this thing, you're probably better off putting a talisman on one of the tech tree planes. Consider this a PSA. Now we are a bit past the midpoint of this video, and I will be showing a couple clips from our live stream yesterday to show you how much fun you can really have with the Draken. But before I do that, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for the just absolutely incredible support you've given on the last video. The amount of comments, likes and new subscriptions were way beyond anything I had expected, and it actually really helped out with pushing the video into the algorithm, so thank you. I feel like it is a lot to ask, but if you guys keep that up for this video as well, that would make me really happy. I just love reading your guys' comments and seeing that you enjoy my work. And it somehow always puts a smile on my face when I meet one of you guys in the game telling me exactly that in the in-game chat. As such, I pose a question to answer in the comments. Where do you think would be the most epic place to pull off a Cobra in the Draken? Personally, I'm going to host a custom battle on the Future City April Fool's map as soon as the patch drops, since custom maps sadly were not available on the dev server. And I'm going to be trying to pull one off below the dome without crashing. But if you guys have some other ideas, we can try doing them all during a stream. But that's going to be it for me today, lads. I desperately need to go to sleep. Thank you all again very much for all the support, and I hope you have enjoyed this one as much as I have enjoyed dancing around with the Draken. As always, my name is Marcus Boom, and I'll see you in the next one. Full speed. There we go. We have just done it. Nope. Nope. Not quite. Not quite. I think we might be a little bit too long, honestly. The problem is the altitude. When we do the Cobra, we are all full up. I'm not sure if we are short enough to get through that. Easy enough, yeah. See, even Jay... Jay went right back after us. A bit too easy, really. That is just a bit too easy, perhaps. First try. Nope. Nope. That did not work out. I didn't put the full rear control on. That could work, actually. Just about. Oh! Oh! Oh my god! Yes! That was perfect! Well, except for the part where you got shut down. Clip that. And we don't hit the wall. Perfect. Oh shit, we did. We just tail struck against the ceiling. Yeah, kinda, that works. That kinda works. Does allow us to not crash right into the walls, which is good. To what extent that is good, though, I don't know. Let's do one in the open. I just want to see how that actually affects the Cobra. So let's get some speed. Push down and up. I think we lose a bit too much speed is a problem. Maybe we need... Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. We are completely out of control. That's a wall. It flies a bit like a helicopter, just without actually being able to, you know, pull up.
You can lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines, with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay, we can wait right here and play, until somehow you can find